This prison is filled with superhumans due to the nuclear radiation syndrome. Some of the prisoners have the ability to control electricity, telekinesis, and emit laser beams from their eyes. The most famous prisoner has the power to control other people's minds. The movie begins in an underground parking lot where a group of superpowered villains is beating up their own companion. Jack is being attacked for failing to kill his target, Walter Locke, also known as Payback. Jack only managed to kill Payback's family. Suddenly, Payback arrives and shoots the villains, killing most of them. As one of them is bulletproof, he shields the other, so Payback is forced to fight them in hand-to-hand combat. He ends up killing the two with relative ease, leaving only Jack alive. Payback kills Jack with his own hands to avenge his daughter's death. Shortly after the massacre, the police arrive at the scene and arrest Payback. Before this incident, there was a worldwide devastation known as the Pulse. This devastation occurred because people started using nuclear weapons in war, causing the death of billions of people. Additionally, protests erupted in major cities worldwide as resources became scarce. Some survivors underwent genetic mutations that led them to acquire various types of superpowers. However, the superhumans have caused several riots using their abilities. To deal with the chaos, the United States government implemented the super law and established the San Tiburon prison, designed to house supervillains. Payback is a vigilante avenger who has killed over 50 criminals and will spend the rest of his life in San Tib. In the report, it is revealed that San Tib is overseen by a man named Devlin. He is interviewed with negative rumors surrounding him due to inhumane treatment of prisoners. Enraged, Devlin denies all these rumors and states that no prisoner has escaped during his tenure as supervisor. Feeling overwhelmed by all the questions, Devlin quickly disconnects. Sometime later, Payback arrives in San Tib along with other prisoners, and he really wanted to go there to kill all the superhumans. Among the prisoners, there is a man named Diego, who has the ability to share emotions and feel the pain of those around him. The guards even think he will have a hard time in a place full of criminals who are biological nuclear weapons. San Tib has a security system called nullies, which can nullify powers. The guards have placed nullies in the prisoners' ankle restraints. Devlin warns the new prisoners not to do anything without permission, because this is his home. Later, the prisoners gather in the courtyard while being watched by the guards. Payback meets Jim, who is the brother of a man Payback killed. The two end up fighting without using superpowers, and Payback wins the fight after ruthlessly beating Jim. When he is about to finish off Jim, the guards interfere and activate the nullies to electrocute Payback. He lies on the ground and gets beaten by the guard who claims to have super strength, and then he and Jim are taken to the infirmary. Diego meets a prisoner named Gordon, who has the ability to control electricity. Gordon says he was one of the first prisoners in San Tib, and that he had never been defeated before the nullies were created. While walking through the prison, Gordon tells Diego some rules he must follow to avoid trouble. Diego asks about the lobe and mentions hearing some horrible stories about him, like controlling a woman's mind to kill her family and using telekinesis to make a man pull his own brain out of his skull through his nose. Gordon says that without the nullie, the lobe is unstoppable and doesn't even like to talk about him. Gordon advises staying away from the lobe. On the same day, the lobe is taken to a dark room where the court discusses his parole for the 4th time. He mocks the trial because he knows that a dangerous villain like him will never get parole. However, it is revealed that the trial is a plan by Devlin to speak with the lobe in private. As he is about to retire soon, Devlin orders the lobe to transfer his money to Devlin's bank account. He threatens to kill him if he doesn't follow his orders. The lobe agrees, but he needs a few things first. Back in the infirmary, a doctor examines the injured prisoners. Next to Payback is a headless prisoner who is still alive because he can regenerate. Diego enters to collect the trash and clean the infirmary. Since he doesn't seem as dangerous as the others, Isabel talks to him and shares a bit about her job, saying she enjoys what she does. Then she goes to the next room to attend to the lobe's psychological needs. Suddenly, Payback enters the room and strangles Isabel until she faints. Furious, Payback intends to kill the lobe because he knows how evil he is. The lobe even mocks the cross on Payback's face. When Payback is about to kill the lobe, Diego arrives just in time to interrupt his action, and they fight until the guard arrives. News of this incident spreads throughout the prison, and all the prisoners start to respect Diego for facing Payback alone and saving the lobe. Darius, who is the lobe's right-hand man, takes Diego to the lobe's cell, and even the lobe acknowledges Diego's action and tries to convince him to be friends in prison by exchanging favors. Meanwhile, Devlin's assistant, Felicia, discovers Devlin's deal with the lobe. To cover it up, Devlin promises Felicia a promotion right after he retires. He also threatens to fire her if she exposes his corruption. In the following days, life in San Tib continues as usual. Gordon has been in prison for 10 years, and one day it's his turn to request another parole. Initially, he tries to answer the questions politely, saying that he has learned his lesson. However, the court continues to corner him with questions about his place in the community. As a result, Gordon becomes furious, and his parole request is denied once again, even though he has never caused any trouble in San Tib. He is disappointed and devastated by the outcome of the trial. At that moment, the Lobe is preparing an escape plan. Darius then hands an object to Gordon, while also planning to take down Payback in the yard. Seeing an opportunity for revenge, Gordon takes off his prison uniform and uses the object to unlock the ankle cuff. He then climbs onto a table and pulls a wire to recharge his body. After that, he attacks and kills the guard, and proceeds to use his power to destroy the prison's electrical system, rendering the nullies unable to electrocute. As a consequence, all the prisoners start to rebel and fight amongst themselves. Payback is disappointed that nobody wants to fight against him. Once the power is restored and the tablets start working, all the prisoners are electrocuted by the nullies and sent back to their cells. Gordon manages to avoid capture and reaches the infirmary to look at the outside world. He expresses his tiredness of being imprisoned when Morales suddenly attacks him from behind. She receives an order from Devlin to kill Gordon for causing chaos, but she claims she cannot do it. Gordon tells her to finish her job, and she ends up punching him to death. Soon, news of Gordon's death spreads everywhere, although it is reported that the cause was him falling from the roof during the escape. It is revealed that 12 people died in San Tib that year, but Devlin does not comment on the accidents. Later, he shows Diego the torture chamber where time passes slowly. Devlin believes that the riot was planned by the Lobe and suspects that there is a secret between Diego and the Lobe due to their closeness. Because of this, Devlin tells Diego to report everything he knows about the Lobe unless he wants to be sent to the torture chamber. Failing to obtain information from Diego, Devlin visits the Lobe in his cell and warns him not to think about escaping. Devlin orders him to transfer the money as quickly as possible. Knowing that he has no chance of escaping, the Lobe agrees to cooperate with Devlin. However, he asks for more time, as it is not a simple task to accomplish. The next day, the guards descend to the basement, along with a technician to repair the prison's electrical system that was destroyed by Gordon. Meanwhile, the prisoners receive an envelope from their respective families containing a photo. Somehow, the Lobe manages to obtain a tablet to prepare his escape plan by creating a virus program. Payback uses an object to tattoo a cross on his face, and then he goes after Jim looking for a fight. However, this time Jim doesn't want to fight. He is waiting for the right moment. Diego visits the Lobe to ensure that he will help him escape from the prison, but since the Lobe doesn't reveal his plan, Diego leaves in anger. On the day of Devlin's retirement, he has chosen Captain Brody to be the new prison supervisor, which disappoints Felicia greatly. Later, Devlin goes to the Lobe and hands him a tablet to transfer the money. In return, the Lobe will be able to live in comfort. The Lobe begins transferring the money, taking the opportunity to load his virus without Devlin's knowledge. As a result, the nullies are disabled, losing their effect. This allows all the prisoners to regain their superpowers and initiate a riot for the second time. In addition to attacking the guards, they also fight amongst themselves. At that moment, Diego is in the infirmary, able to feel the pain and emotions of the prisoners. Fortunately, he manages to alleviate their suffering thanks to Isabel, who quickly comforts him. Devlin receives a call from Felicia, informing him about the chaos. Realizing this, he attempts to return to his office, but the Lobe locks the door. The yard is a complete mess with prisoners using a wide variety of superpowers, and the chaos continues inside the prison as well. Some have the ability to make a person vanish, create force fields, infect others through their breath, create illusions with clones, and more. Payback is getting the worst of it against Jim, who is bulletproof. However, after a distraction, Payback disappears from his sight. Brody asks Felicia for a solution, and she informs him that the system was built on a generator in the basement, and restarting it will restore everything to normal. Felicia guides Brody, but when he reaches the basement, the radio signal drops, leaving him to solve the problem alone. Jim appears in the basement and attacks Brody, revealing that one of the guards is helping the Lobe with his escape plan. Initially, Brody is cornered against Jim because he is just an ordinary human. However, at a certain moment, he breaks a pipe, causing hot steam to hit Jim, who is then electrocuted and dies. The Lobe tells Devlin that he has another power that no one knows about. Apparently, he has the ability to switch his consciousness with someone else. Swapping consciousness with Devlin is part of his plan, and after the switch, he knocks Devlin out with a punch. Brody manages to restart the generator to restore the nullies. When the door is opened, Felicia doesn't realize the switch, and the Lobe orders Devlin to be taken to the torture chamber. Devlin tries to warn them that he is the supervisor, but they believe that he is truly the Lobe. Later, the Lobe promotes Felicia to become the supervisor of Santib, and she is happy about it. Meanwhile, the guards escort the prisoners back to their cells, and despite the riot, Payback manages to stay alive. With Felicia as the supervisor, many changes are made in the prison, including the classification of prisoners' superpowers. Due to this change, Diego will be transferred to another prison as he is not considered dangerous. Before leaving, he thanks and bids farewell to Isabel. Brody decides to quit working at Santib, and Diego walks away from the prison. Darius is released upon the Lobe's request since he didn't participate in the turmoil, making it easier for him to obtain his freedom. The movie ends with the Lobe taking Darius on a flight to Switzerland, where he will start a new life with billions of dollars in his bank account.